Hi, so today we're going to work with an RGB, red, green, blue, additive color wheel. And we are going to make an artboard. We're going to make it square, 8 inches by 8 inches. We'll go ahead and choose 300 DPI and RGB color. Let's go ahead and create. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a black background. So we're going to go to Edit, Fill, and choose black. All right, so we're going to be using our brush tool, and I've set it to lighten. So under mode, choose lighten, and I have too big of a brush here, so I'm going to make it with my brush selected. Up here I can choose the size. We're looking for fairly big. I'm going to put 3 circles on the screen. So 1040 is good for me here, 1040 pixels. I'm using a hard round brush, so my hardness is all the way to 100%. All right, so we're going to experiment with what red looks like. So in RGB, when I click on my fill and my color picker, I can see I have multiple color modes. We're going to be focusing on RGB. So the highest number you can have in Photoshop is 255 for your R and your G and your B. And we're going to do a pure red, so we have 0 of green and blue. I'm going to click once, and you can see that actually paints right onto my background. Okay, so I have a bright red circle. I still have lighten, and my opacity is 100. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to make that a 0. So now we have black as a color. I'm going to go to green and make it 255 and say okay. And this time I'm going to overlap it. Right, so you can see the additive where the green and the red overlap. I'm seeing yellow. And now I'm going to go to blue and do 255. All right, so you can see I have red, green, blue. This is how the additive color that you see when you're using a screen where your light is coming from light bulbs is put together. So that's different than when we're mixing physical colors like ink of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, or even your primary colors that you would have learned way back in grade school. All right, so I'm going to make a new layer, and we are going to dig deeper into this. All right, so I'm going to say Edit, Fill, Black, and I'm going to drag some rulers to the center of my board. All right, and I'm actually going to make a triangle, I think, because that might just help me. So I'm going to click from the top down to the bottom and over and back up. So this is a path, and I'm using my pen tool. I'm then going to go to image, canvas size. I'm going to make it a little larger. Maybe I'll do it 10 by 10, and you can see it's going to expand evenly from my center, and I'm going to go ahead and make it black as well. Okay, so now we're just going to come in and say here, Edit, Fill, Black. All right, so now I have a triangle. That's perfect. And I can see my path because I have windows up. So paths, and then I could click off that layer, it would disappear, and here it is again. All right, so we're going to work with ink again. So this time I'm going to go back to my red, so 255, put in 0, and I am going to use a smaller brush. I'm going to make sure my layer is selected. Okay, that looks good. So I have lighten, it's 100%, and I'm on full red. Okay. So now I'm going to come into my color, and we are going to go to green and 0. And this time I'm going to put it in this corner. And I'm going to come back into my fill and I'm going to make a solid blue. And we're going to put it there. All right, so now we're going to do our in-between colors. And how that's going to work is be 100% of both colors. So I'm going to use my blue here. Then I'm going to come in and pick 255 of my red. And I'm going to overlap it completely. Okay, now I'm going to do the same. I have 100% red, so I'm going to do 100% red. And I can also use my color picker to grab my 100% green and overlap completely. All right, and we're going to do the same here. So I have my full green, and then I'm going to do my full blue and overlap completely. So now we're going to fill in between, and how we're going to do that is you're going to select 100% of either the red, green, or blue, and then 50% of the color that's furthest away that you're still mixing. So I'm still mixing blue. So I'm going to come in, get my blue, but this time on my paint, I'm going to say it's only 50%. So now I'm going to change it back up to 100. Oops, here. Click it here. And this time when I go to red, it will be the 50% because my red is the furthest away. All right, so now we're going to be up here. So on this one, it's going to be 100% red and 50% of my green. Whoops, that was 50%. So if it comes out dull, you'll know. So I'm changing that to 100. So I have 100. Now I'm going to grab my green color. I'm going to change it to 50%. And now I'm getting orange. All right, so my green, I'm going to make it 100%. And this time when I grab my red color, I can go in and double check it's 255, so that's good. When I get to my paintbrush, I can now change it to the 50. All right, just 2 left to go. All right, so I have 100% green, so I can use my color picker, grab my 100% green, go to my paintbrush, paint up. You can see it came out too dark, so Command Z, undo, make sure it's 100% up there. Now I'm gonna grab my full blue color, and this time it is only gonna be 50. So my blue now needs to be 100, and my green is going to be the 50 for this last color. So this is a great illustration of how literally when you add the RGB colors to each other, you are able to make your full spectrum of colors in your color wheel, or in this case, we made a color triangle.